Hi, I'm Sunny, and I come from a rich family from Orlando, Florida. I grew up rich and spoiled as I am the only child in my family. My parents loved me so much and took good care of me, but Mom used to discipline me a lot. At one point, I started to think maybe she didn't like me at all. So I decided to ask her one day, once and for all. I saw her watching TV in front of the room and said, "Mom, can you give me 5 minutes of your time? I want to discuss something with you that is very important to me." "What is it, my dear? Come sit with me and talk about it." "I don't know what I did wrong to you, but sometimes you will care for me and other times you will act like a wicked stepmother to me. Why?" I asked. "Ah, Sunny, my daughter, it's not what you think. It's not like I am really harsh on you. I am only doing it so that you understand what is right and what is wrong in life. You know you are my one and only daughter, so I have to train you well so that you can face all the challenges you encounter in your life alone. I want you to grow into a good woman so that you attract a great man in your future. I always want the best for you." "I thought I really did something that made you hate me. I never knew that you were doing it all because you wanted the best for me. I'm so sorry, Mom. I love you." "I'm sorry, my dear, that you felt that way. I love you too. Don't think I'm being harsh on you, but I have to correct you when you're wrong. I don't want you to get spoiled and you start behaving badly," she said as she drew me close to her and rubbed my hand with her hand. Since that day, I've realized that what my mother said was true. If she trains me well, I'll be a great woman like her. My 18th birthday, Dad and Mom surprised me with a brand new car. I was so happy to get my first car, hugging them both, and then I turned around and asked them, "Who will be driving me?" I looked, wondering how am I supposed to drive this car when I didn't even know how to drive. "We have assigned someone who will teach you how to drive the car on your own, and whenever you are ready, I'll call your instructor to come over. You have to listen to all the instructions given to you by your driver instructor when he comes to teach you. After your lessons and you pass your driving test, you're good to go." I wasn't happy with the response I got from my parents because I was terrified of cars and considered my lack of knowledge as a protective barrier that kept my life safe. As a young lady, I shivered even at the thought of getting behind the wheel and learning to drive. Everyone around me pushed me hard, but it made me more anxious. I have 2 friends, Linda and Jessica. Both of them know how to drive perfectly, but for me, throughout my teenage years, I avoided learning how to drive. My parents always tried to encourage me to learn. They would hire me instructors to come over, but every time they showed up, I declined to participate. Years later, after they purchased the car for me, I still don't know how to drive. When I was about 25 years old, I had moved back home after college. Mom and Dad came to meet me in my room while I was reading a novel. By the way, I love reading novels a lot. It's a habit, and Mom knows this. So anytime she goes out anywhere, she's always looking for new novels to bring back to me. When they entered my room, they both sat down at the edge of my bed and started talking to me. By the way, they were acting. I knew they would bring up the discussion I hated the most, learning how to drive. "Sunny, my dear, your mom and I are worried about you. Why are you taking public transportation when you have your own personal car at home?" "Yes, it's kind of embarrassing when you come to see me at my store downtown and you're getting off public transportation. We worked so hard to become rich and fabulous for my only child to be seen getting off the bus with the regular civilians. Sunny, you are not regular. If you don't want to learn how to drive, we can hire you a driver, but this fear you have of driving has to go. If you agree to learn to drive, I will buy you a bigger car than this one." I told them that I had heard them and I will try to do that soon. Both of them were happy to hear this, and Mom asked me what did I want to eat, and she'll get it for me to celebrate me agreeing to learn how to drive again for the 100th time. We always do this like every other month. We have the same conversation, and I always agree. I've been doing this for years, and then when it's time to meet with an instructor, I bail out. I told Mom I wasn't hungry for the time being, and both of them were so excited while leaving my room. I know they were so happy for my reply, and I wanted to fulfill their wish, but I knew my fear will never allow me to do that. The next day, when a handsome guy named Chance showed up to me, I declined him too. He was closer to my age. Maybe they thought they could lure me into the driving lesson or something, but it didn't work. "Hi, Sunny. I'm Chance. Nice to meet you." "Hey, Chance. You look like a really nice person. And I hate to do this to you, but I'm not participating in this lesson. You can still drive me around and my parents will pay you, but I'm not going." Chance looked at me confused. "But what's the problem?" "I don't really want to explain it. I just don't want to drive." "Okay, how about you at least get into the car with me and we can take a ride? I won't ask you to drive." I looked up a bit hesitant, but he was so good-looking, I had to agree. "Sure, let's go." Amazing. We drove around the city to International Drive and looked at all of the tourists walking around with their children. It was nice talking to Chance. When the session was over, he dropped me off back at home. "So, since you enjoyed hanging out with me, how about we exchange numbers and we can hang out again sometime?" I agreed, and Chance and I ended up communicating all the time. But still, everywhere I went, I took public transportation or relied on the kindness of my friends, Jessica and Linda, to give me lifts. And now Chance. He would often pick me up too. I was so embarrassed to admit my fear, and I knew I was missing out on a lot of life experience by not being able to drive. One day, I went for an outing with Jessica and Linda, and on our way back home, we saw a very small girl driving a car. She had to be about 16. Jessica touched me. "Sunny, see how this girl is driving her car?" "I see how she is driving, but what does that have to do with me?" I asked Jessica. "You're like 10 years older than her, and you're not even ashamed of not knowing how to drive?" I just looked at Jessica. I didn't reply. Linda chimed in. "Jessica, you're now acting as if you don't know your friend. Sunny will never change her stance on driving. Like, how many times have we discussed this? That's why I never bother you bringing up the topic anymore, Sunny. I've told you people to leave me alone about learning how to drive." To avoid an argument, Jessica and Linda apologized for making me upset and changed the subject. They dropped me off at home, and I called Chance telling him all about what happened. Chance and I officially became a couple, and I ended up moving out of my parents' house and moved into a condo in downtown Orlando with Chance. The years went by so fast. I celebrated my 30th birthday, and soon after, I had enough of my crippling fear. I was determined to take control of my life and finally learn how to drive. I went to sign up for driving classes and quickly realized, what was I thinking? My fiancé Chance is a former driving instructor. As I was preparing dinner in the kitchen, I told him I was ready to learn how to drive. "Sonny, stop it. You do this all the time. You say you're ready, and whenever it's time to drive, you won't do it." I told him the fear that I had been feeling was irrational. So the next Saturday, Chance took me to a parking lot of an abandoned retail store. I actually got behind the wheel this time and was able to overcome my fear. I gained a newfound sense of confidence. I was so confident. Chance said I was good enough to actually drive on the road with other cars. We drove around for hours, running errands. Usually Chance drove us everywhere, but this time I did the driving. By the end of the day of my extended driving lesson, Chance said I was ready to take my road exam. A week later, on the day of the road exam, I was filled with mixed emotions, but I knew that I was ready. Chance waited for me to complete the exam. When he saw me, I was looking sad. "Sonny, what's wrong?" "It's okay if you failed the driving test. You can take it again." Turning my face from sad to excited, why would I have to do that for? I passed the exam with flying colors. "I'm so proud of you, babe. I knew you could do it." I suddenly felt as if a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. For years, I avoided this. So many summers and winters passed me by, and I stayed paralyzed by my own fear. From that moment on, my life changed. I was finally able to explore places beyond the city limits and truly feel free. Chance and I got married and would often take road trips. From time to time, I helped him with some of the driving. Driving had enabled me to experience life in a way I never thought possible. So my dad fulfilled his promise by getting me a new car. Although he made that promise many years ago, he still kept his word. It's funny because I actually forgot all about it. He and my mom were always happy anytime they saw me driving. They couldn't believe I was actually driving. They absolutely adored Chance and thanked him for being such a great son-in-law and a positive influence on my life. I felt a sense of accomplishment like never before. I had proven to everyone, my husband, my parents, Jessica and Linda, most of all myself, that I was capable of challenging my fears and coming out on top. I was forever changed, and now years later, when I take our kids to school in the mornings, I can't believe how far I've come.